I've talked about these a little bit before. So in here is a lot of our Christian focus series, and for now I have them displayed like this with a couple facing out, just because I think that that's more inviting, and we can switch up the display of it a lot more like that. But obviously if I take this one out of here, then I have a ton more space, and we can like smush all of these together as we need to add more in up here. And then up in here I have this basket full of cards, and then there's this whole continent flashcards printable that I had mentioned. Let's see if I can give you a better glimpse of some of these. So here we've got like North America, some of the meals that you would find in countries that are in North America. So that's just one of those fun, like zero pressure, just get to use it as enrichment. And then along with our kids' interest in spiritual heroes, we have this one, which is also from Tiny Theologians. And these are their Mothers of the Faith cards. Let's see if I can get this out. And this is something that I've become super passionate about this. Most of the historical figures that we learn about, whose stories have been perpetuated and told for ages, and saved in all these beautiful biographies and retold in many, many different versions and things, are predominantly Caucasian people. Their stories are no less important for that, and I will continue to tell them to my kids and want them to learn about them. But I am just certain there are faithful Asian believers and African believers and Islander believers and South American believers whose stories are not being passed down and told like across the world. And I think we're really missing out for that. And so I actually started a research project of my own where I was just going online and looking up like Chinese missionaries or like Brazilian missionaries, Native American missionaries, different things like that. And so a couple of the people that I had found are also in these cards. And so I'm super impressed with Tiny Theologians for having this range of diversity, and I'm really glad to have these as like a starting point of diving more into a lot of these figures. And then on the backs of them here too, there's like a little bit about the person and something that they are known to have said. So we've been going through these cards a few times, and there, you know that it's a good one when you've got Naomi's favorite. So there's a Fathers of the Faith version of these as well that I'd like to get eventually, but for now we've got those. And then what else do we have over here? So this is the History Lives series, which is again a walk through church history. And kind of playing off of that, we got these two big books, which I know you've seen if you've seen my book haul videos, but let me show you here. Get this camera strap out of the way. So we've got the Bible timeline, which is fantastic to have. And then where it lets off is where this one picks up. So this is one of these just awesome resources. Just little bits in here. We're just walking through history. But as we get through these, this one is put out by Christian Focus, and so then a lot of the book series that they have are also, they've reused some of the artwork in here, which is neat as you're going through it, because then if you're looking kind of like an overview of this, if you've read some of the book series, it's going to jump out and just make that visual, like help you understand that history a little better. So these are really great resources for history. Something too that Luke and I are agreed on is teaching history from creation forward. So not just starting with ancient Egypt and building out from there, but instead starting with creation. And so master books and Answers in Genesis have a lot of really great resources on like Noah and the flood and ancient peoples. And then there's also this book called Adam and His Kin, which is really great. The author has taken the historical narrative from the Bible and like painted it out a little bit more so that you understand like some of the major effects of these peoples. Adam and Cain and Abel and Seth and Noah and his sons and the Tower of Babel and all of those just being really, really pivotal things in history. So this is our shelf right now on like that Bible related Bible history. These books right here are really fantastic. They're on some of the minor prophets in the Bible, and those are like picture books. This one is 30 prophecies and how they all tie into Jesus's life. So you've got some really fantastic picture books here that are just like different people throughout the Bible. And then we have a little portion on Jewish celebrations, because we've been keeping the biblical feasts, and it's hard to find any resources from a messianic perspective. Yes. But we've been getting these just Jewish perspective books on the feasts that we keep from the Bible. And even though we keep them in a different way, celebrating how Jesus has fulfilled or will be fulfilling them, it's been nice just to have these around for the kids to be able to see like, oh yeah, people do celebrate like Sukkot and Passover and things like that. So that's been cool. And then there's a couple more big resources down here. This is not the most like conclusive atlas. I mean, it doesn't cover as much as I would like for it to. I'd really love to find an atlas that covers like all the countries, because recently I was looking up all the names of the countries, and there were literally countries that I had never heard of in my 30 years, and that just seems like such a shame. So anyways, but I'm glad to have this one just for the biblical perspective in it. And then this book is really cool as we're going through history. We're just like painting out a lot of these things visually. So I would recommend that one. That one is from Harvest House, which is a publisher that we've been getting a lot of books from as well. And here's a whole bunch of board books and then like some smaller picture books and things. Another thing is I'm not completely ruling out textbooks. I did invest in a couple of textbooks from Generations, which is a homeschool company that is very focused on the history of the spread of the gospel. So this is their history textbooks, but it's talking about how the gospel was advanced through each of the continents by various peoples through history. And so that has been really a neat perspective that I'm just so glad to support. And so even though we haven't used those yet, I'm really glad to have those on hand to pull from. And then these are specifically on American history. Also, we have a little bit of American history picture books there, and then the full Bill of Rights. And then this one is one that I remember from a curriculum, My Father's World, that we had used when I was growing up. And so this is all stories of people who trusted in God through the history of our country. And then YWAM Publishing does have a whole bunch of these little picture books, as well as Christian Focus has these Little Lights picture books. These would be really great as an introductory, like, early reader, because they do have like a bigger paragraph, but also it's summed up in more of just one sentence on each page through the whole story. And so if your children are just learning how to read, that's a cool resource. These are all told in verse. I've been meaning to actually go through and share all the books that we have so far that are written in verse. But before I get totally carried away, a couple more resources that I wanted to share are this one is also from Master Books, and this one is a focus on different languages around the world, A through Z. And then this is one that I'm so glad to have found. I don't even know how I came across this, but this is all different Bible-less peoples, A to Z. Obviously doesn't cover all of them in the world, but this is a neat conversation starter. And then this one is like the children's version of a bigger book called Operation World Prayer.
It's a Bible.
This isn't a Bible, buddy. And then it's
a book
covering either people groups or countries specifically, to like really focus on praying for. So we've been using this one at bedtime with the kids to really like continue building that heart for the nations, heart for the world, heart for other peoples, as they learn to pray too. And then we've got different picture books on people around the world or missionary ventures. We have a couple of these. I know, but can you move out of the way though? We have a couple of these books that cover a whole bunch of different people. And they've got really beautiful illustrations of them too, which is always fun to have like a little different visual than you're used to. And then going along with Naomi's interest in food, we've got a lot of food books down here. We've got like this World Cookbook from Usborne, Food Anatomy by Julia Rothman, and then there's a couple books in here of different meals around the world. This is one of Naomi's favorites. I know, buddy. And then this was a little book outlet find that is also interesting. And there's this early reader series that is like all different countries. So anyways, the kids are chomping at the bit to be able to share more of the things that they're super excited about in our homeschool library, which I'm so glad for. Now I'm gonna let the kids share a little bit with you guys.
Yes. Okay, so Tiffany, you talk first. Yes. Betsy shopping.
Betsy Stockton.
Yeah, Betsy. I'm not perfect. How do you go? The number, Mama. This is about quarter ten boom. It's about gold apple, Mom. She's not here yet. Oh. Yeah. So, okay, and then let me talk, okay? Can I talk about these cards? Sure, but I'm going to talk about these cards in our little booklet first, and then you can do the cards that you like. So this, I have some cards and our booklet around the world that I want to show. So this which I'm about to show is one that I like. I'm forgetting their name right now, but I like her. And I also like this woman because she looks beautiful and she looks like she loves God. So, and this is also one that I like. So I have that, and then these other ones here are my most favorites: Perpetua and Felicitas and Amy Carmichael. So these are my most favorites. I too. Yeah, and we have it. Both of these are on torch layers. So yeah, and then this goes along with our studies on around the world. So like, let me show it for you. It's basically talking about this, and there's recipes on stuff and games and stuff.
One other resource I should share is this chalkboard map. I got, let's see, what is the company's name? So this is literally, their company is Chalkboard Maps, and they use these chalk markers, or they sent chalk markers and these little like magnetic push pins, and so we're currently using that to be able to track where we've actually gone in the world, as well as the countries we've studied with KiwiCo and little passports. So that's a fun visual to hang up in the schoolroom too. A little glimpse of some of the resources that we're using to kind of flush out this mission schooling, but in an unschooling way. Very literature heavy, which not all unschoolers use, but certainly books are such a great resource to be able to explore different ideas and learn about new things. So that is what we've primarily been using, but there's all sorts of other things you could use too, not just like videos, but there's puzzles and flashcards and the STEAM projects from the KiwiCo crates and just all sorts of cool stuff. So, and on the timeline thing, our church did a huge missions conference this past year that we went to, and one of the things that they had at the door was this kind of like newspaper style thing, and there was this awesome timeline in it, which I pulled out and just hung on the wall here. So all sorts of goodies and ideas Hope that can get you guys a little bit pumped if you're in a similar zone with homeschooling.